All right, we are now live on YouTube. Perfect. Okay, Chrisley, you are actually, there we go. Let's stop it. So hi, everyone. My name is Shakia Kegler, and I am the founder of Govlier, a business to government marketplace that's designed to simplify government procurement processes. And I am here with my co-host, Chrisley. Would you mind telling them a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Chrisley Gampier. I have a human capital firm that focuses on data analytics in order to improve employee performance. But I am also the founder of the Black Bunker. It is a strategic monthly masterclass that I host with Black-owned, minority-owned businesses in order to encourage jumping right into the space of government contracting.
Yes, and today we have a special guest. Well, before we get to that, so we are launching government coins because we decided it was time for us to provide an avenue for small businesses, Black-owned, women-owned, minority-owned businesses to have a direct contact or insight in terms of what is going on in the space of government contracting, how to get started, and really dispelling some myths around doing business with the government, because there are a lot of government contracting gurus out, and we just want to make sure that the information is, one, absolutely correct, coming directly from the government and business owners who have actually done business with the government before. So today we have Miss Adrianna Clark, from the director of the Southeast region at the Department of Transportation. She focuses in the Office of Small Business Development and Utilization, and she is here today to tell us some different things about the Department of Transportation, how she became how she got into this space and how to do business with the agency, but also what is this infrastructure bill mean for small businesses? Adrianna, can you hear us?
I can. Okay, I didn't know that was my entree in.
That was your cue.
That's your
Okay,
cue.
that was my cue. All right, then. Listen, only the first in my podcast entrees. So listen, Shakila, Chrisley, thank you so much for extending the invitation to me to come before your group of inspiring business owners who always inspires me as they build their businesses and grow their enterprises. It's always a pleasure, really, and a distinct honor to come before businesses in any kind of a platform. So whether that's this virtual space that we're in today or face-to-face, but to, share what I know as being in the government for the past 14 years, having climbed many ladders myself, I hope to be relatable today to answer all of your questions and to inspire you as you go along this journey, particular as it relates to infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is not a word that we hear every day. And, I want to, Shakila, you said earlier about dispelling some of the myths. So let me dispel a myth. Right from the start, and that transportation is not only for our male counterparts. Transportation infrastructure is wide open for female businesses and all businesses, right? And it's not only pertain to construction and construction related trades. There are many ancillary services and supplies that goes into building the nation's transportation infrastructure. Let's talk about and make some distinctions in terms of, what is transportation infrastructure? So that has to do with all of the nation's bridges, highways, roads, airports, seaports, ships, you name it, the U.S. Department of Transportation. If it moves people and or goods, your U.S. Department of Transportation regulates it. It likely provides the funding around it. And U.S. Department of Transportation as a federal agency, of course, do not build or provide services to anything. We rely on the public, the business marketplace to do that for the nation, and it's all paid for by us as taxpayers. So we entrust the nation assets to those of you who are in business and can provide and supply the government. So that's one myth that we've dispelled, that is not just for men. In this industry, though it is very dominated by males in this industry, and we are so welcoming of our male peers, and at the same time, we're very supportive of women-owned enterprises who are entering or who are doing well and very successful in this industry as well. And then secondarily, we made the distinction that infrastructure does not only pertain to wearing a hard hat and boots. I only on occasions get to wear hard hat and boots when I am looking at the various infrastructure projects around the country, specific to the Southeast region in most cases, as I am as was mentioned earlier, serve as your Southeast Region Director for the United States Department of Transportation, specifically the Office of Small Business. So the Office of Small Business, we do everything small business. That is supporting, providing technical assistance and support, referrals, just shoring up small businesses. So whatever that takes, sometimes that's building resumes, that's making introductions, that's pointing in the right direction where the opportunities are. What is the process to do business with the federal government in general, but with the United States Department of Transportation specifically. So doing business with DOT can occur both at the municipal level, right in your local area, but also on the state level as well as the federal level. So it just depends on a company's capabilities, their capacity, and wherewithal to be able to perform on those contracts. And so what are some of the contracts that are out there as examples? You can work with your local transit authority, for example, around, specific to, I would say, maybe South Florida, our buses. Many of the transit authorities across the country, but in South Florida as well, are converting their buses, their actual physical buses, to more hybrid buses in light of trying to recognize and consider the environment and be able to do something about the pollution and the climate. We're converting to the hybrid or less emission buses. And so that's not just procuring a bus. So what goes along with that opportunity is, one, identifying, where, for example, a lot of our buses are not manufactured in the US. So it starts with sourcing. Where do we find these kinds of whether they're the full bus or where do we find the manufacturing operations? What country is that sourced from? Who are the players? What is the industry? Someone has to do all of that work, right? So there's all of this real estate across the globe. So not in our backyard, it's across the globe, right? And so we have to identify, that kind of expertise who can go out there and locate these buses or these manufacturers who have the capabilities, the staffing, the wherewithal to, if not you manufacture the entire bus, what components of that emissions free or low emissions bus that that the U.S. can bring it to market in Miami-Dade County. Same goes for the currently in South Florida, all of the metro rail cars that's being sourced out of Japan. someone had to find and locate and source that, those Metro Rail cars. And so it starts with services and it goes to actual constructing of that, but then it also has to do with community involvement. Does the community know that we're bringing online new buses? Does the community know from an involvement or engagement standpoint that there is going to be less emissions let off in their neighborhood? As residents, how important is that? If you have children in certain schools, is that information being brought to, your community? So, we contract with or we procure those services from those who are involved in community involvement, community engagement, those that speak on behalf of what's taking place with respect to infrastructure. Inclusive of, or, infrastructure can also include real estate professionals who go out when the government decides that they're going to extend the airport runway, and there could be an acquiring of real estate, whether there's commercial space or private homes that the government is taking eminent domain of. We need to purchase those homes and buy folks out in order to extend a runway so that there's greater capacity within the airport. So the government is not doing that, right? We'll know realtors within the government. So we go out and we find realtors that can negotiate pricing, get the real estate sold, and the government takes it over. Obviously, we're going to demolish it, extend that runway. So we're calling on realtors to participate in transportation and infrastructure. So I think that suffices in letting us know, what are some of the areas of infrastructure and how can your company be a part of what is really an exciting industry, and how you can participate as an owner.
I think that's such a good segue, because when it comes down to doing business with the government, a lot of times business owners believe that it's in the construction space, or it's, and construction can be a massive project. You basically just said transitioning the buses alone, that provides a lot more opportunity even for business owners who have maybe a public relations company, because they have to now let the community know about these. I love that you brought that to everyone's attention, because I feel like that's not talked about enough in terms of how do you fit your business into the space of doing business. And I feel like that's one of the conversations of being able to be, I guess, play the game of Tetris in a sense. How do we fit into, this overall idea of this infrastructure bill? Which would be something that, following into our next question, what does this infrastructure bill necessarily mean in terms of funding going to different agencies and how businesses can take advantage of it?
Well, quite frankly, and simply put, this is $1 trillion infrastructure bill. That's not terminology that we use in our everyday vernacular, $1 trillion. And with that being said, it's simply game changing for small businesses, for certain, as we believe that small businesses truly are the heartbeat of this nation's economy. And everybody realizes that, from the president down to the most lay person. Believes and understands that small businesses are our job creators, they're our job maintainers, they're the most innovative, creative, flexible, nimble enterprises there are. Unlike our larger, less nimble and less flexible organizations are. So there is a heavy reliance on small businesses to achieve the goals and objectives of this $1 trillion infrastructure bill. So where are you going to find it? Simply, what I named earlier. You're going to find it in your local transit authorities. You're going to find it on resurfacing your neighborhood sidewalks. You're going to find it on signage on the highways. When you see I-95 and you're, going into the express lane, you're going to see digital signage on the highways. You're going to see the traditional lighting on Interstate 95 or 595 if you're in the local community. But along the state and national highways, you're going to see conversion to all LED lighting. And the replacement of that. So someone is going to be climbing up there, installing LED lighting, someone is going to be sourcing LED lighting to outfit and retrofit all of the lighting across the nation's highways. You're going to see it show up in your state. You're going to see your seaport, whether that's Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, all of our seaports that are going to go under, this change and conversion with greater capacity to bring in more cargo to the United States. And so you're going to see it everywhere. In your own backyards. Transportation is how we get food to the table. Someone is transporting that raw good so that it ends up as a meal in your table. And guess what? Your U.S. Department of Transportation is funding that. We're regulating that the driver is safe, that the person who's driving the truck leaves home as he or she left in good condition safely. And that food is being delivered as a raw good in safekeeping, and that it's fit for consumption. So you're going to see it all over. You don't need to look very far to find that $1 trillion landing somewhere near you.
I think it's important that you said that, and that really, like, you continue, Adrianna, you're segueing straight into all of our conversation. Some of the things that I know our clients really don't truly understand is the differentiation between federal, so when we say United States Department of Transportation, and their local buses, right? They might think that it's all swarmed into one. But I know myself and Shakia with GovLIA and Black Bunker, we really try to push every single client should be registered on sam.gov to retrieve that cage code in order to do business with the United States Department of Transportation, which is the matriarch, right, for transportation. And then underneath that are, like for me, who's in New York City, is our local New York City MTA. Or if you're in New Jersey, the New Jersey Port Authority. Like there are different, the ports, lands, they always say air, sea, maritime, all of those things, right? Those are like the underarching, the micros, and Department of Transportation is the macro. So what is your suggestion for those small businesses that are like just getting into the government contracting that might have the experience on a commercial space as it pertains to Department of Transportation? How do you think they can start doing business with DOT, whether it's at a federal, city, or state level? And how can they build relationships with some of the primes that maybe you're aware of?
So, the distinction that you made, Chrisley, is just that. So identifying what your capacity is. If you know that you're more novice business, you're starting up, you're just trying to, get in the door, get some past performance, get some experience before as you move up with your business. You want to start probably at the municipal local level. So that is your local transit authority, your local seaport, your local, more locally transportation related. So you want to go out and, do some community engagement for a prime contractor who's building, a multi-million, billion-dollar project, at the local airport or the local highway. You want to go and, match your business. So the first thing is, one, be ready to do business, right? Your company needs to be incorporated. All the basics need to be taken care of. There needs to be a live presence of your business. There needs to be, as a government official, we are having to protect taxpayers' dollars because everything that the government does is funded by taxpayers. That's your, my, all of our dollars that we have to be good stewards of. So that means that you need to be ready. You need to have the proper insurances. If you're a contractor, you need to have surety bonding, so you need to have all of that that's in place and ready to go. You need to have your Dun and Bradstreet number. Someone needs to have vetted your business to say that you are a legitimate business and you show up on some business profile. You need to register your business at the local registration process. So if that's the municipal level, here in South Florida is Miami-Dade County, New York is New York's, Department of State, or however, that goes, you need to register. Someone else needs to know from the government that you are a legitimate business. There needs to be a website presence because contracting offices do check websites. They're doing their due diligence to ensure that they are having some exchange with a real legitimate business. So you need to show up in business databases. You need to meet with your local small business administration or SBA representative, because they will get you also in a small business database as being registered, and it depends. So I would say always start in your backyard. Start at the local municipal level. Build your brand, build your reputation, build your resume, build your business, client by client, project by project. And you move then to the state level. You register with the state in order to do business at the state level. For DOT, it's your state Department of Transportation. And here where I sit today, it's the Florida Department of Transportation is where you start at the state level, and it progresses from there to the federal government, where now you've built the resume, you have the past performance, and you're ready to do business at the federal level, the United States Department of Transportation. And so there is a process. There's always registration that's required with the different entities, and there's also certifications that can help to get your business to the next level. So if you're woman-owned, you want to certify as such, right? If you're disadvantaged by definition, if you're small by government definition, then you want to make sure your company is certified and shows up as that.
And that's a really good segue into our next point as well. So I love the fact that Chrisley brought up prime contractors and the relationship between a prime contractor and a subcontractor. So as a prime contractor, you are the number one person in charge, or that company and that entity is in charge of that contract, and they're in charge of communicating directly with the government, but they may need to work with some businesses underneath them, and those will be considered the subcontractors. So as a subcontractor, I know there's a list on the Department of Transportation's website of prime contractors who have subcontractor plans in place. But in order to become a subcontractor, are we required to be certified as a DBE? And then also, would you be able to tell us a little bit about the DBE program?
So you always have to be careful and do these disclaimers, right? To our audience that there's no requirement. However, if you want to do business with the Department of Transportation, DBE, or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, is a specific designation, is codified into law. U.S. Department of Transportation is the steward, the designer, the creator of that. Why not show up to DOT with your credential as a DBE? That says that, oh, yeah, I am a willing, able, ready business to do DOT specific transportation related work, and I can solve solutions directly related, or bring about solutions directly related to transportation infrastructure. That's what it means. Is it required? No. But what is required is that by definition, the supplier or vendor is a small business by SBA's small business definition. Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, codified into law in the 1980s, maybe in some cases before some of us was even born. So it's a long-standing statute. It has stood the test of time. Chrisley, Shakila, it has stood the test of time. It has been challenged. It has been in court. It has been under a microscope for many years, and it has withstood as legislation. So disadvantaged business enterprise is a statutory certification that denotes very specifically the Department of Transportation. While it is a federal certification, it is recognized at the state and local level. So once a firm is certified as a DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise, that's based on social and economic designations. So a business would need to meet certain criteria, but the state level, your state DOT, and in some cases partners with local entities that also serve as certifying entities. They can certify your company as a DBE. With that, you can do business with the state, local, or federal government as a DBE. Once you're certified, you're certified.
Yeah, I think for me, at Crystal G Consulting, we're actually in New Jersey. If everyone's ever been to the Metro New York, New Jersey area, we consider the Port Authority as like the second tier under the US Department of Transportation. And we have a very large human resource consulting contract that's coming out. It's already out. We're prepping the RFP. And I will tell you that the US Department of Transportation has indicated and you can see it clearly with the port, a certain percentage of the points for those businesses that are certified DBE. Thank goodness for me, I'm already DBE, and thank goodness for the subcontractors. They have to be a percentage of your subcontractors have to be DBE certified in order to earn the DBE points on the RFP. And so it's necessary for us on a valuation perspective when we're going after opportunities to really take a step back. Do we have the certifications, especially when you are talking about doing business with Department of Transportation? So with that said, Adrianna, if you can give a little bit of insight, how long does it usually take from your perspective and your angle? How long does it usually take for two things? This is a twofold question. One, to become a DBE certified company, and also how long would it take for a DBE company to essentially begin receiving work with the Department of Transportation as they're making the connections? Like, what do you see on average?
So tricky question, maybe that's a trick question, right? Because you're certified as a DBE, your company is certified as a DBE. On any written literature documentation, you will see 30 to 60 days. In some cases, it holds up for that time frame. If a particular state, like a state like New York, for example, the time frame could be longer than that. I know in one of the territories that I cover, which is Puerto Rico, it's usually somewhere upwards of 90 days because essentially everyone in Puerto Rico qualifies based on the criteria as a DBE. So if your business wants to become a DBE, likely you can become certified. So there is always, lack of human resources to really comprehensively go through the vetting process and, issue the paperwork after the decision. 30 to 60 days is the bar, and that is what most of the entities work towards. Certifying a business after that, it then really becomes behooves the business to get out and begin to market their business. I would suggest on this forum, Chrisley, that, businesses are already doing business, in the business development stage. They're already marketing their business. The status can always be in DBE in progress. That can always show up, but we're already marketing our businesses. We're already attending prime contracting meetings. We're already attending planning meetings, informational meetings. We're already, passing out cards, or in this environment here, attending these kinds of events and getting our businesses out there as we wait for that process to be completed. So a little bit more about working with prime contractors. I may not have fully answered that question. And I want to say a bit about, prime contractors are those larger firms that are working on the directly as a client, one-to-one client with the Department of Transportation at the federal or state level as the owner, of that project. The prime contractor then is the kind of secondary to that. DOT is their client, U.S. Department of Transportation or state DOT are their clients. And then they, in order to build that multi-billion-dollar project, they need to support subcontractors, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, 4, 5 contractors to come out or support services vendors to come and join them as partners in building that asset, whatever that is. They are considered, the smaller firms are considered tier 1, tier 2 subcontractors, and on down in terms of tiers, but they are subcontractors, right? And they don't have interactions with the owner, which is the U.S. Department of Transportation or the state DOT. They contract with the prime, the larger company.
Well, that's a really good question. Well, I just got another question from someone on the YouTube, and they were basically asking, how can a logistics company do work with the Department of Transportation? So that's I say that's a good question because usually many of the logistics companies will go through the Department of Transportation to get their companies certified and get their numbers and things like that. But how does a business, a logistics company, a transportation company, I got this question like 3 times actually. But how does a freight company that, moves things do business with the Department of Transportation?
So it just depends on, for the federal government in general, so that's inclusive of DOT, all of the opportunities are always posted within, it was mentioned earlier, beta.sam.gov. So it's never a mystery or any secret in terms of what are the contracting opportunities. So it depends. There are different levels or scales or services of a logistics company in terms of what they have the capacity to do, whether they're end-to-end logistics company or they're somewhere within that supply chain, how it gets from, from raw material to the end user. That logistic company may only be, delivering. As an example, or they may only be the documentation side of the house. So it just depends on where the company falls within that whole delivery or supply chain, what kind of services. So if you are a trucker and you're hauling refrigerated goods, let's just say as an example, well, you do require a U.S. Department of Transportation number, U.S. DOT number saying that you're a legitimate trucker, you met the criteria, met the safety criteria. However, with some exceptions, truckers are not long distance, freight haulers, I would say, are not direct contractors to the U.S. Department of Transportation, though it seems like that's an obvious connection. It is an ancillary to what the Department of Transportation does. We have many truckers, for example, if you're specific to truckers and, even logistics that are delivering concrete to a multi-million-dollar construction project. So that's how we use a lot of the truckers. Then we have someone who are coordinating those truckers in and out of a project site to say that they're legitimate, they're bringing in the right, materials, brass, concrete, asphalt, whatever that is, so that a logistics company can handle, the end-to-end use of, of that process.
But it'll be best to go to the primes. You were saying it'll be best to go to those primes.
In the case of trucking, but for logistics company, it depends.
Okay.
On the capacity, the full service offerings of the logistics company. That may be better, addressed in a one-on-one.
Got it. Okay. That's a good question. Chrisley, did you have some more questions? I know we are opening up the floor right now to our guests who may have some questions or want to talk about, or have some questions to ask Adriana, or just a quick question about government contracting in general. I know we have some questions on the YouTube chat, but our community, y'all get priority over here. Don't, and remember what I said. Don't get in here acting shy. You want to talk about your business. This is a perfect time to market.
I will ask this because I know a few people, as we demystify some of the myths that keep coming up about essentially DOT really focusing on male businesses, all construction and all such. I really would like everyone or Adriana to answer in your perspective, from your perspective, what do you see when it comes to services? So, and when I say services, I know there are companies, just for me looking at who's on there, I know there are companies that are out there that do administrative support, right? I know that there are companies out there that do training and, OSHA safety, which is huge. And so what is it that you see for those companies, and how can they essentially also be involved with Department of Transportation?
Well, there's almost an organic fit when it comes to the specific, trades, disciplines, services that you just named, administrative. DOT does a lot of compliance related, because anytime there's a contract, millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter, $1, there is some compliance, because again, we're spending taxpayer dollars and it must meet the muster. And so we rely on services such as administrative compliance related services that are understands the law, understands what we call the federal regulations or FAR, understand the law, and are able to go into, I don't know, let's just say for an example, a transit agency, and say that, okay, you have $50 million of federal US DOT dollars to purchase buses, to build a bus hub, or to do whatever it is that you're doing. Are you utilizing small businesses? Are you meeting the goal, that 10% utilization goal of small businesses? Who's watching? Are you staying on budget? Is it in compliance with federal laws? Are OSHA standards being met by your contractors and or subcontractors in that regard? So administratively, someone has to go in and audit, monitor, report on the conduct of a U.S. Department of Transportation funded contractor subcontracting opportunity. I mentioned, Chrisley, a little earlier, some of the other services. Obviously, OSHA training is huge because the fact of the matter is that a significant portion of DOT dollars go towards construction and construction related. We cleared that up. That is not all, but to the degree that it is, there is OSHA requirements, safety practices, all of those safeguards that should be built into projects. So contractors have to have a certain amount of OSHA training yearly. If you're a general contractor, that is an absolute requirement. So that has to be offered. So those who have that training and expertise, again, go directly to the prime contractors to offer that training.
Yeah, we have our community seems to be shy, which is crazy. Oh Lord, what's going on with this thing? It just keeps jumping around. But our community seems to be shy, and that is crazy. Don't get in here asking me 1,000 questions later on when you have the lady who can answer the questions right in front of you. But as we close out, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the OSDBU, and then also different is this the only OSDBU, or can we, you know, tap into other OSDBUs and people who are, you know, as your role being the person who connects and does helps with resumes and capability statements and all of that good stuff. How can we connect with OSDBUs like yourself? Well, OSDBU departments and people like yourself, experts like yourself.
So this in the government is all, public information. So not only all federal agencies, right? All federal agencies must have an OSDBU. So there should be a counterpart to what I do in every federal agency. So whether that's you're doing business with the Department of Energy, Department of Education, Department of Defense, there is an Office of Small Business, and they have the same mission, the same goals, the same advocacy role that USDOT's OSDBU, or OSDBU as we call it for brevity purposes, to conduct business and training and services that support small businesses in their endeavor to solve government problems. That's what the Office of Small Business. We are advocates essentially, and our goal is to shore up small business enterprises and to ensure their capacity and their longevity, quite frankly, in this whole government space. Make no mistakes, the government, the US government is the largest spender, they say in the world, perhaps, upwards of, trillions of dollars a year procuring goods and services. Everyone should have a role and a place in doing business with the federal government in some capacity. And if it's not DOT, which of course I welcome and invite and encourage, but if it's not with the Department of Transportation, it should be with one of the other agencies, everyone. And especially with DOT now with this $1 trillion infrastructure project, there's room for everyone.
And we have a question. Ernest has his hand up, and I am going to bring him on right now. But Chrisley, you go ahead while I bring him on.
No, I'm excited because you know what? Adrianna said something quite important. There is space for everyone with that $1 trillion budget that really essentially is coming out. And I think, again, speaking to the Black Bunker and GovLEA, that's our goal, is to create that. Hey, you guys don't have that knowledge. So we're going to bring the experts that do have the knowledge to the space to really help us understand how we can get involved. And I'm excited because the person who raised their hand is Ernest, which is amazing because he has like a great story in starting out from really building his company between this past year and having his federal contract. So go ahead, Ernest.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do apologize. I joined the meeting. I got to be invited late, and I have not Zoom ready. So I ask that you please forgive me. But anyway, I would like to first off introduce myself. My name is Ernest Davis. I am co-founder.
Ernest, is it any way you could move the phone like closer to you or something? For some reason, the audio is.
1 second. Give me 1
Okay.
second. Sorry.
We want to make sure that people hear about you. Then we want to make sure that people know what you do. Okay.
My apologies.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's perfect.
Yes, my apologies. Thank you for, first of all, giving me the opportunity to join this meeting. I did find out about this last minute. I just came from the gym, so I am not Zoom ready. So please forgive me for not showing myself right now. But my name is Ernest Davis. I am one half of Davis Carty. We are a management consulting company. Between my dynamic business partner and myself, we have over 40 years of experience in management consulting, training, instructional systems design, learning management systems administration, and so forth. And please forgive me if this question was asked because I was trying to do two things at once. I was in another meeting, but is there a space for training within the Department of Transportation? And if so, what areas is there, for us to be able to look into?
Mr. Davis, thank you for your question. And if it's okay, Chris Lee, is that if I can answer in part that there is definitely a space. We did address that in some way a little bit early on, and you missed it, Mr. Davis. We talked about, in this environment, this administration has a high priority around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've heard those three words, and we continue to hear those three, I would say, concepts really across this administration. I think this is going to be with us as this country has some work to do. And so training for sure in those areas. I mean, I just about every time I open up my computer, I see a training or so in that space. And so the answer is yes and yes for certain. Where do you find it? You find it at the local, state, and federal level. In the federal space, it's as always on beta.sam.gov is where you find those opportunities for DOT specifically. Much of that training occurs out of our Office of Civil Rights, who, really is responsible for managing and developing content around this administration's plans and goals when it comes to equity and inclusion of everyone in federal government contract. And so for the DOT space, I would direct your attention to specifically the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Contracting. Do the query on beta.sam.gov and, just put in your NAICS codes for training. And I think you'll be nicely surprised. I mean, we are coming into the end of the fiscal year. September 30th ends the fiscal year. October 1 starts the new fiscal year. So, everything is sort of being revamped and getting ready for advertisement for the new fiscal year. So get ready for that. And with that, for October 1, we expect the infrastructure budget to be fully in place by that point. And we'll really see, the explosion and with this game-changing legislation.
Oh, that was a great. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ernest.
Oh, no. I was saying thank you very much for that. Would you be the contact for DOT, or is there another person that we can introduce ourselves to send our capability statement?
I'm happy to receive your capability statement to maybe guide you a little bit further. Find it through our host. My contact information can provide you with direct contact information for myself, my office, and there may be, I may, refer your company to where the opportunities are, at least where to get started.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I would say it's always for those who are on the Black Bunker, they always know I like to make sure that we execute a teaching moment. So before anybody inundates Adrianna's email, right, let's be proactive with doing our adequate research, and let's actually use DOT's website to get as much information to really navigate what we can contribute to DOT to solve their problems. So DOT's top 3 priorities that they talk about is safety, innovation, and infrastructure. Obviously, we can see the trillions of dollars that are being put into the infrastructure aspect. That's why we're here today. And then for those that are interested in training, I know me having a human capital firm, when I look at training, I'm not just looking at, oh, well, I can do this. I'm more so looking at what can I solve for DOT, right? So when we look at DOT, they even go as far as actually having a DOT response to the most wanted list, okay? So you can actually click that list and go in through there and look to see what exactly do they need as part of their priorities. It is a 2017 report, but we can kind of go in to kind of see what's there and maybe work with Adrianna to see, has this been updated, where I can go in. There are things like medical fitness for duty, like things you won't even think about are on this, required list. So do our due diligence, make sure that you talk to myself and Shakia first so that you're really strategically positioned to begin doing business with DOT. And if you want, I don't know if you want to add anything to that as well, Adrianna.
No, only that you're right on point, because I would, give the same advice before I pass a company on. Due diligence is absolutely required. Know what you're solving. Don't go in. If you get an opportunity to meet with someone that can make a difference in your company, that can say something on your behalf, or can actually award, more importantly, award a contract, you don't go in asking questions. You go in providing solutions. That's not the time for questions. This is a forum to support that what you all are doing respectively and within your companies, preparing companies to do so. That's the opportunity for questions. I am always happy to be a resource. That is what I get paid to do as an advocate. But when it's time to do business, it's time to do business. It's time to solve government or your clients' problems and not ask questions.
Yes, to get them government coins. Thank you so much, Adrianna, for coming on, sharing with us, and just being that advocate in this space when, it's hard for us to actually get out and do some of this work ourselves every now and then. But thank you so much for providing your time and sharing more information with us. We will definitely have you back on the podcast in the future, and we will continue our relationship. So.
Wonderful. I enjoyed being with you and your audience, you both today, and your audience. It has been my pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Adrianna. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
For everyone who has had the chance to join the YouTube or be on the actual Zoom, the video will be available on YouTube immediately after. But if you wanted to hear it on the podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts, it will be on the podcast later on today. So that's Apple, that's Google, that's Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, you will be able to hear Government Coins. And that will be it for myself and Chrisley today. Follow us on social to stay connected, ask questions, share information with us about your business, the industry, and who you would like to see on the podcast. Okay?
Yes. Find out who your customers are. Tell us who you want to be on the podcast. And trust me, me and Shakia will get them on the podcast.
Right.
Because we make it happen. Okay.
Facts.
And the biggest thing is, like Shakia said, there's so many other platforms and people trying to sell government contracting, but we wanted to actually bring the government to you. So now you all have, because you guys are our private clients, you all now have direct access to the United States Department of Transportation. Congratulations to the members of the Black Bunker, all of my Chrisley G Consulting clients and the GovLEA clients. You all have a federal personnel in your back pocket.
I'm telling you. And I think we're just gonna end it here. But if we have some questions from our group, our friends, our family, our coin snatchers, we need to work on a name for the Government Coins family. So that's coin snatchers sound good to me, though. I gotta keep it a little ratchet sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that is it. Chrisley, we'll be on the phone talking soon.
Of course. Thank you all for joining. Always click, like, share with everyone. We want you guys to please share this. All of you on YouTube, I know we're live on YouTube. Click, like, share, comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us, hey, Chrisley, her bun was lopsided. I did go on YouTube. I saw my bun was lopsided. But, just tell us what you want to see. Give us the feedback. We love it.
All right, I'm ending it now.